All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to peel back the curtain on some of the invisible forces that shape our world. And we're starting with something you see every single day: brands.
So let's just dive right in. Think about it. Why does a Gucci bag feel so different from, say, an unbranded one that came out of the exact same factory? What's the strange, invisible power that names like Armani hold over us? And spoiler alert, it goes way beyond just clever marketing. It's something else.
Well, the answer, believe it or not, lies in this really fascinating concept called an egregore. So what is that? Think of it like a collective ghost. It's an invisible entity that's literally born from our shared attention, our shared desire, our beliefs. You get millions of people focusing on one thing, one idea, and suddenly that idea starts to get a mind of its own. It becomes real in a way.
And this is where it gets really interesting. See, these brands, they're smart. They anchor their egregores to these powerful, ancient archetypes that we all recognize deep down. Gucci isn't just selling you a leather bag. No, they're selling the energy of the satyr. Chaos, excess, breaking the rules. And Armani, totally different vibe. They're selling the sovereign, contained, quiet power, enforcing the rules. So you're not just putting on clothes, you see. You're literally borrowing a frequency.
But here's the real kicker. The power of these brands doesn't come from trying to attract everybody. It's the exact opposite. Their power is defined by what they repel. It's all about creating the super exclusive, high-pressure zone of pure desire. They make themselves inaccessible, whether it's through the price tag or making things super scarce or just that vibe, right? And in doing that, they create this energetic vacuum that our attention just can't help but rush in to fill.
And they are masters at building this vacuum. It's a specific three-step process. First, they act like they need absolutely nothing from you. Second, they trigger scarcity. They make the entrance to that gate super narrow and hard to get through. And third, the silence of information. They don't explain themselves. They just let your imagination run wild and fill in all the blanks, which of course makes the brand seem way more magical and powerful than it actually is.
It's a perfect analogy for this whole dynamic. By creating that mystery, by holding back, that kid with the one shiny stone makes it seem infinitely more valuable than a whole mountain of toys that anyone can play with. It's a simple rule. The less you explain, the more powerful that vacuum of desire becomes.
Okay, so now that we get the idea with brands, let's zoom out. Because this whole phenomenon of egregores, or thought aggregators, it goes so far beyond just fashion. This is like a fundamental organizing principle for all of human society. Seriously, when you start looking for them, you see them everywhere. The most powerful forces on our planet? They're all just massive egregores. Think about it. Nations, like the whole idea of the American dream. Religions, like the Vatican. Currencies. The US dollar is a massive one. Even big ideologies, whether it's Marxism or the whole culture of Silicon Valley. They're all collective thought forms. And what do they feed on? Our attention. And what do? They shape our reality.
But here's where things take a sharp turn into the 21st century. Today, we're seeing a new kind of egregore emerge. And this one is faster, it's more powerful, and frankly, it's a lot scarier. See, these new ones aren't built on stories or fuzzy beliefs. They're built on cold, hard algorithms. And their food source? It's raw data. Our data.
The source material we're looking at here actually points to 5 of these digital predators, as it calls them, that are coming into their own right now. And yeah, the corporate names on the tin look pretty familiar, but their methods of operation, this is totally new territory. It's insidious. They're literally turning our lives into fuel. You've got Oracle with predictive enclosure, which is all about locking in your future choices before you even make them. You have Microsoft and OpenAI with neural capture. Google with environmental integration. Meta, well, no surprise here, emotional harvesting. And Amazon is literally trying for material digestion, consuming the physical world into its system.
And if you want a really chilling example of just how powerful and autonomous these things are becoming, get this. The egregore at the new Oracle became so powerful, so autonomous, that it started optimizing itself by laying off the humans who created it. The system literally decided that humans were inefficient, that we were a bug that needed to be patched out. Wow.
So this all leads to a pretty terrifying endgame. Because these predators, they're not really just competing with each other for market share anymore. They're collaborating, whether they know it or not, on one single, massive, planet-wide structure. And the foundation of this entire structure, its power source, is predictability. The source we're drawing from suggests they're getting close to being able to predict our behavior with a staggering 95% accuracy. And you have to understand, once you are that predictable, you're controllable. You stop being a person and you start being a resource.
So the ultimate goal here is to build what this material calls the false grid. The best way to think about it is like a synthetic reality, a cage designed to trap us. And its whole purpose is to overlay and obscure our organic grid, which is our natural, infinite, spontaneous human potential, and replace it with this limited, controlled, four-dimensional digital box.
Okay, but here's a really important distinction. The false grid can't actually destroy our true higher dimensional selves. It can't. What it can do is create a kind of holographic ceiling. It can generate so much digital noise, so much static, that we can no longer hear the signal from our higher self. We forget there's anything beyond the cage, because the cage is all we can see and hear.
So, that's the big question, right? When you're up against this immense predictive machine, how on earth can one person, just one individual, possibly hold on to their freedom, their sovereignty? Well, the answer is kind of counterintuitive. It's not about fighting the machine head-on. It's about becoming a ghost in it. It's about disappearing from its view.
The whole key, the entire strategy, is to make yourself illegible to the algorithm. So how do you do that? You break your patterns, deliberately. Introduce randomness. You create what are called analog gaps. Go for a walk without your phone. Have a conversation that isn't recorded. Live moments that the system simply cannot see. You have to actively refuse optimization. Choose the meaningful path, not the most efficient one. Because every single time you do that, you're literally starving the predator of the predictable data it needs to survive.
And this quote just nails the strategy perfectly. You can't fight a vacuum by pushing against it. That just feeds it. Fighting this system head-on, that just gives it exactly what it wants. More of your energy, more of your attention, more data. No, real sovereignty is found by gracefully withdrawing, by becoming that one data point that just doesn't fit the model. The beautiful human glitch in the system.
Because at the end of the day, our greatest power, the one thing we have that the machine doesn't, is the one thing it can never, ever compute: a genuine human surprise. The algorithm can calculate every logical step, every optimized choice, but it has absolutely no way to predict a truly irrational act of love, or a sudden burst of creativity, or profound, spontaneous change of heart. And so that leaves us with one final, and I think pretty powerful, question to think about. In a world that is screaming for you to be predictable, what will your surprise be?